Hello, this is Clara Hsu, co-hosting with John Rose for the San Francisco Poetry Open Mic podcast TV show. And today, I have a guest host, and his name is Jack Foley.
That is indeed my name. Clara, welcome to your own program. I'm very happy to be guest hosting the San Francisco Open Mic Poetry Podcast TV show, and I got all of that in.
Yes.
You've been extraordinarily active in the Bay Area for the last several years. I'll mention a few things that you've been doing. You've been putting on a reading, for example, a series called The Poetry Hotel, very imaginatively named reading in your own home. For how many years has that been now? 5, 6?
I think it was since 2007, so...
That's a fair amount of time.
Yes.
So 5 years at any rate. And you've published some books, Mystique Poems, Babouche Impromptu, and Other Moroccan Sketches, which is prose, 5 romantic poems, translations by, the poems are by Hsu Zimo, is that correct?
Hsu Zimo, yes.
Hsu Zimo, thank you. And you've also written an extensive memoir called The Painted Skin. You have a blog called The Painted Skin as well.
Yes.
And with Bill Mercer, who had been your performance partner for a number of years, you produced a CD, The Mystical Path. And I'm interested in all of that. One of the things that seems to have happened to you more recently is an extraordinary change in your writing. And I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about that. One of the ways in which your writing seems different from what it was the emphasis, as we can see from titles, Mystique, The Mystical Path. The emphasis not so much on mysticism, but on something else. Maybe we could call it experimentation.
Maybe. I think it was you, Jack, when I started studying with you, that you've opened up quite a bit of areas in terms of writing for me, and yes, I'm more into experimenting with space, with the language, and with the page. I think that my page used to be very small, and now it's gotten bigger and bigger, which is a lot of fun.
And it's sometimes a problem for publishers as well.
Yes.
That's another problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Have you abandoned mysticism, or is that still an element in your consciousness?
I don't think I've abandoned it. Certainly, it's one of the elements that I'm interested in.
And continue to?
Yes.
Do you understand, do you think of experimental writing as being a way into mysticism? I do sometimes
possibly,
think that.
yes.
Yeah. You've been a wonderful student, and if you don't mind my telling this, you came to me saying that you were tired of doing what you'd been doing, and you asked me, can you give me a breakthrough? Can you make a breakthrough for me? I said, sure. And I was able to be sure about that because I'd seen some of the work you were doing, and I had some awareness of what might be another possible or another series of possible ways for you to be writing. And that's something we've explored together, really. I tell people you're the kind of student, I tell you to do ABC, and you do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Adele just mentioned how much she enjoyed the haiku you wrote, which was a suggestion of mine, that you write some haiku to Adele. And you did, and you wrote very beautifully.
Thank you. And Adele will be joining us for the last piece that we'll be doing,
Absolutely.
All three of us together.
Well, we want to get into your poetry, and I want to start with that. And this was a reaction I had to one of the poems you're going to be reading. The poem is Wandering Night, and you sent me that, and I was wowed by it. And I said this: she shows him something he had barely seen before, a jewel, a diamond, a never such. He watches, amazed, as she sheds skin after skin after skin. Clara Hsu.
Thank you. The first 2 poems that I'm going to read, I'll be reading with Jack Foley. And these 2 poems, I wrote them while I was on vacation in Mexico. The first one is about a lost necklace. Elegy to a lost necklace. Small aqua star gleamed on my throat, held by a string of naked beads, stunning in its simplicity. Now the bell tolls, for it is lost, the one necklace I treasured most, memory of its simplicity, held by a string of naked beads. Small star gleaming in dark unknown. Small aqua star gleamed on my throat.
Here, take this, a necklace of words.
Held by a string of naked beads.
Sorrow for the lost aqua star.
Stunning in its simplicity.
I saw you wear it more than once.
Now the bell tolls, for it is lost.
But beyond the fact of seeing,
one necklace I treasured most.
things take on our deeper being.
Memory of its simplicity.
I saw you wear it more than once.
Held by a string of naked beads.
Sorrow for the sweet aqua star.
Small star gleaming in dark unknown.
Here, take this, a necklace of words.
The next poem is titled That's a You Know with Oscar Wilde. And in this poem, Jack is going to be Oscar Wilde.
There is something in your voice that is wonderful.
Come, Oscar, the past 2 nights you snuggled in my bed until well past midnight. The day is warm. Let us follow that man who just came out of the butcher shop, sombrero and cane, carrying a plastic bag of ground beef.
The aim of art is simply to create a mood.
I want to walk up this small street I came upon yesterday to have breakfast in the cactus-filled courtyard. They said Obama won the election last night. I'm glad women won't have to worry about wearing iron underpants. A little secret? I didn't vote this time.
The intellect of the race is wasted in the sordid and stupid quarrels of second-rate politicians. There is a grotesque horror about its comedies, and its tragedies seem to culminate in farce.
Yes, they turn my stomach, and there is little hope one way or the other. But look, what spreads before us? Thick rind homemade marmalade, toasty bread, smooth dark coffee, scrambled eggs and refried beans.
Even for us, there is left some loveliness of environment.
Jugo naranja or zanahoria. I choose zanahoria because I don't know what it is.
How fond women are of doing dangerous things. It is one of the qualities in them that I admire most.
As I scoop the beans with a piece of corn chip, I begin to realize the importance of fortifying the stomach before a day of work. Not sitting around having intellectual exchanges, but hard labor to earn 10 tortillas with meat and rice and more dark coffee at the end of the day.
To discern the beauty of a thing is the finest point to which we can arrive.
You hear that sentimental music playing in the background?
I feel as if I had been weeping over sins that I had never committed and mourning over tragedies that were not my own.
The morning sun, white plastic chairs, and the dark-haired senorita smiling so sweetly at us.
Aesthetics make life lovely and wonderful. You don't know what it is to fall into the pit, to be despised, mocked, abandoned, sneered at, to be an outcast, to find the door shut against one, to have to creep in by hideous byways, afraid every moment lest the mask should be stripped from one's face, and all the while to hear the laughter, the horrible laughter of the world, a thing more tragic than all the tears the world has ever shed.
Indeed, we can be here all day and do the most important thing in the world. Nothing. This next piece is an experimental piece in the style of Gertrude Stein, and the title is Knit in a Faux Mink. Advanced, ingenuous life imitates form, imitates life, ingenuous, advanced.
Womb existence, not an accident, not an accident. This manufactured, strokable...
Fiber of solace, solace for the soulless parasite of fiber of solace.
Egg into legs, into needle stitching into egg, into legs, into needle stitching into...
Life leaps on dead skin.
On dead skin leaps life.
Keep up the God work.
Oh, dear God, the work.
Life leaps on dead skin.
On dead skin leaps life.
Egg into legs, into needle stitching, into egg, into legs, into needle stitching, into...
Fiber of solace, solace for the soulless parasite of fiber of solace.
Womb existence, not an accident, not an accident, this measured, strokable.
Advanced, ingenuous life imitates form, imitates life, ingenuous, advanced.
Advanced, ingenuous life imitates form, imitates life, ingenuous, advanced.
Advanced,
Womb
ingenuous
existence, not
life
an accident,
imitates form,
not an accident, this
imitates life,
manufactured,
ingenuous,
strokable.
advanced.
Fiber
Womb
of solace,
existence,
solace
not an
for the
accident,
soulless,
not an
the soulless
accident.
parasite of fiber of solace.
Manufactured,
Egg into
strokable.
legs,
Fiber of
into
solace,
needle
solace for
stitching,
the
into
soulless,
egg, into
the
legs,
soulless
into needle
parasite
stitching,
of
into
fiber of
life
solace.
leaps on
Egg
dead
into
skin,
legs, into
on dead
needle
skin
stitching, into
lips
egg,
life.
into legs,
Keep
into
up the
needle
God work.
stitching, into
Oh dear
life
God, the
leaps
work.
on dead
Life
skin,
leaps on
on
dead
dead
skin,
skin
on
leaps
dead
life.
skin
Keep
leaps
up the
life.
God
Egg
work.
into
Oh
legs,
dear
into
God,
needle
the
stitching,
work.
into
Life
egg, into
leaps
legs, into
on
needle
dead
stitching,
skin,
into
on dead
fiber of
skin
solace,
leaps
solace
life.
for the
Egg
soulless,
into
the
legs,
soulless
into needle
parasite of
stitching, into
fiber
egg,
of
into
solace.
legs, into needle
Womb
stitching, into
existence, not an
fiber of
accident,
solace.
not an
Solace
accident.
for the
This
soulless,
manufactured,
the soulless
strokable,
parasite of
advanced,
fiber of solace. Womb
ingenuous,
existence,
life
not an accident, not an
imitates
accident.
form,
This manufactured,
imitates
strokable.
life, ingenuous, advanced. Rain. The bed, a womb every night a returning. Slip into an underway, unseen, unknown. Into the years pours a tip jar of marbles. The hemisphere fissures along the beak lines, rain, little hands turn frantic, tapping. Open, open, pin, pen, patty, cake. What did you say? Across the continent of static, the possibility is that she has been repeating, I love you, I love you. And he's thinking of those U's, curves, his tongue licks the air, the moist air saturated, swollen, that may burst open at any time and come down with a grunt. Suddenly, it's not busy anymore. Brilliant darkness. Only the sound of feet splashing in puddles come from all directions, and the giggles of a young girl. Aureolopus chimera hunter of white morning, measly, dram drinker meets La Belle Sauvage, thunderbolt. Yellow dog chases, teal snake races, calico cat tangled with ribbons and laces. When the blue sky rages, they fear the mages. Mirsu falls. She rises after the rain, ribbons arching over clouds. Born to the sun and water nymph, iridescent in her grace. She dips her luminous hands, breaks up the hypothesis of the eye, like the dust on a butterfly's wing, like August sinister spies. She evanesces under nature's brush, leaves as quiet as she comes, leaves the sea to its howling, blends trees with mountain mist. When he paints her, she pretends to be asleep. When he finishes, she is truly asleep, and he finds himself unwanted. Knife falls. The languid fog hurries a man along a half-dark street, walks fast to get away from the stinging mist, but slow to go home to a sullen wife and children drugged in front of video game screens. It makes him wonder. Toothless is the moon, when the crescent is its face. Which gate do you come from, and from which one do you leave? A newborn cries from the shadow of a column. Miserable rain. This next piece is titled Wandering Night. Begin with sadness that permeates since the feverish hands cooled. Looking beyond, it must have been the wind. First, it fanned the flames, then it sucked away the heat, leaving chalky remnants of rectangles, squares, circles of certainty. A phallic stone, a quest of polka dot feather. A blossom wakes, cicadas chant a mantra. Pale filigrees uncoil under the mingled stars, its 7 white veils stirring in the thick of night. Are you mad? Are you mad, you babbling brook, coming down with a case of lunar spasm, frothing at the brink of your lips, the white of your eyes, grandma, mother loves you, dear, dear, mother loves you. Azul is the color, deep in an inkwell, southern breeze, she prefers to call it noir. Peeling a corner, his fingers fumble, a touch of slick, a tuck in the groin. Turning, the owl's eyes widen from its own musing. What of the scurrying mice and beating wings in a nearby bush? Pity the prey, ecstasy on borrowed time, one lifting talon away. Coming into. The dreamer doesn't know it is she who commands the dream to appear. It is she who has been wishing. It is she whose wish takes form, tapping a code into the great unknown. It is her words, I want. It is her pining that draws the creature forward, draws it into her vicinity, but she is puzzled by its incongruous appearance. Not knowing what to make of the dreams, she let it nibble first her ears, then her eyes and nose and mouth. She lets it kiss her mouth. She lets it touch her face and arms. She lets it consume her. When she wakes, she'll know it is she who has asked for salvation, and each time it is given to her like a ripened fruit ready to be plucked. It is she whose magnetic eyes reel in a new reality, and she must endure the newness and the strangeness of it. It is in dream that she finds. It is in dream that they come. It is in dream that she finds them all. Darkness disperses like crushed little bones. This next piece is titled Not Ethnic Enough, and Jack wrote the call and response section near the end of the poem. Not ethnic enough.
Like a charm on a red string for protection.
Those cards, throw them on the table.
King of Hearts.
Queen of Diamonds.
All wearing glasses.
The jester, where's my coffee?
Turkish teacups.
Green tea is so much better.
Made in China.
pH balance, antioxidant.
Made in China.
Trace minerals greater.
Made in China.
Longevity lower.
You, Sheen?
Mortality.
That. Made in China.
Chinatown is changing subtly. The men sitting in the bakery drinking coffee and buying lottery tickets will gradually fade away. So will the homemade basement temples and the old gangsters who talk football at 1 o'clock in the morning at San Wall.
The old man chews on a toothpick while reading the Tsingtao Daily News. Undershirt, toenails, teeth, yellowing.
My father is old, but his mind is very young. I'm young, but feeling...
Sifu, Sifu, Master Po, King Lear of the Milky Eyes. Your name is Ki Luke, Luke Sek Lam.
Kwai Chan Kane, Shaolin Monk, 3-in-1, David Carradine, Keith Carradine, Radamas Para.
Charlie Chan is the Swedish Warner Oland, Johan Werner Urland.
Cato Valley to the Green Hornet, Bruce Lee, Li Yunfan, Li Xiaolong.
This tree is questionable as to who's what, who's who, who's not. Waverly. You need something to call home.
In the middle of the night, an aspen quakes. Go down, a voice coaxes. Only those tentacles that hold the earth are real. But you swing on the branches and watch the moon hurtling down and up, a revolving crystal ball eluding your grasp.
The Wong Benevolent Association on Waverly Place decks out its flags. No parking signs are tied onto the lamppost between Sacramento and Clay. A row of folding chairs is set up in front of the building. A man with a rag wipes down the red plastic seats and rusty frames. Old folks, done up, pin big ribbon rosettes on their chests.
The magic of light encased, swinging on a long stick, flickering. The glimmer inside a paper fish belly, yellow star fruit, hairy rambutan. When I was small, I pulled a little white curly crepe rabbit with 4 wooden wheels. A candle was lit inside, held by a thin wire. My sister and I walked up and down the length of the short corridor at home. She held a butterfly of transparent wings. We were the keepers of light, short legs toddling, gleeful and drooling, a kind of mythical youngling, along with the shadows that cast on the walls and ceiling.
You better know all the numbers before going in.
I think I'm missing the number gene.
In a 5-syllabic, finite poem, expressiveness is to be derived only from the varied tone of each character.
Sometimes when I breathe, the cold air jolts me. That the right vocabulary,
Ethnic, minority, crisis,
is necessary in order to go places. That these
empowerment, possibility, equality,
buzzwords justify value and leads to general consent.
tradition, culture, roots,
Of an
preservation,
existence. That a few words
race, discrimination, sexism,
may explain all the problems of the now. That the brown, indelible skin is the ticket to
rave, rant, rage.
My eyes?
Not ethnic enough.
My hair?
Not ethnic enough.
My accent?
Not ethnic enough.
My grandmother?
Not ethnic
My
enough.
grandfather?
Not ethnic enough.
My origin?
Not ethnic enough. If those words are absent.
Foes of the sun.
The sun folds, gives up.
Foes of moth wings.
The moth flies into the sun.
Foes of the blue tongue fire.
My tongue touching yours sweetly afire.
Foes of the sand.
Sand and
Foes of wind clouds.
clouds my mind.
Foes of a dry sky lightning.
The fly cries in the dry sky.
Foes of newborn.
He said, I wish to be in your born.
Foes of crow's feet.
Get out of here, old man. Let a young woman in.
Foes on an old photograph.
Stills as opposed to movies. Someday all photographs will be movies.
Foes and foes of lace ribbons.
Decorating his undershorts. She saw as he removed them.
A shirt half fold.
Unfold.
A sock unfold.
Refold.
Foes of the arm.
Gold fold.
Chair resting.
Watch out. The chair's moving. The taxi driver took one look and predicted foreigner. The clothes, the posture, he was right every time.
They hate me because I don't speak Chinese.
They hate you more when you don't even try.
The illegal act my father committed was unmentionable in the 1960s. He took the train from Hong Kong to China and stayed there overnight. When he came back, I tried to sniff the purported fragrance from his clothes. Not a trace could be detected. Years later, when I went to Guangzhou, I specifically asked to be taken to such a place where at the show window the merchandise was lined up in a row, their bodies shiny, already cooked, I suppose, hung by the necks, oil dripping down the long singed tails. They put the slices in a clay pot with daikon radishes and carrots, sizzling hot. Red meat, chewy, but it didn't taste like chicken. Dog, what's the big deal, I asked my friend. It's not what it's trumped up to be. He shrugged.
People are into wild vegetables these days.
After all,
We have something in common.
doggedly pursuing
Afraid to die.
before the body gives in. The malaise of a calm night. A lone street lamp bathes in its yellow pool. The sign in the bus shelter scrolls a long message. Eternity arrives.
Eternity arrives in 56 minutes.
To my left is Adelle Foley, and Adelle is going to participate in this final poem that I'll be doing, and it is titled Tagak Kronos. It was written after I heard a concert by the Kronos Quartet and with the Inuit singer Tanya Tagak. Adele's part in this poem is come from a translation from a poem called Decision by Edith Södergran, and it was translated from Swedish by Jaakko Aholkas. Tagak Kronos.
Spears,
Primal mother.
stabbing, hunting,
Earth nectar.
knife,
Hand dance.
hunting,
I am a very mature person.
stabbing,
Erotica.
spears, stabbing,
Shuddering.
spears, knife,
Thighs.
hunting,
But nobody knows me.
hunting,
The ground.
knife, spears,
Thunders.
stabbing,
My friends have a wrong idea of me.
father,
Pieces of fingers.
father,
I am not tame.
rages,
Wild. Flying.
rages, drowns,
Blood. Ice and water.
drowns his own daughter,
Birds. Dogs.
his own daughter,
With the talons of an eagle, I have weighed tameness.
his own daughter,
Calling mother.
his own daughter, drowns,
Mother calling.
drowns, rages,
Calling mother.
rages, father,
Mother calling.
father.
Oh, eagle, how sweet is the flight of your wings. Shall you be silent like everything else?
Stories,
Breath.
voices, capillaries,
Hawk.
susurrus.
Do you perhaps want to write poetry? You shall never write poetry anymore.
The
Susurrus,
tear.
capillaries, voices,
A fish.
stories, voices,
Gut. Fire. The hands.
stories, susurrus,
Love. Virulence.
capillaries. Each poem shall be the ripping apart of a poem. Capillaries,
Orgasmic love.
susurrus, stories,
Pain. Pain.
voices.
Not a poem, but the marks of talons.
Okay, thank you, Clara, Adele, and Jack, for your poetry. I'm going to read a poem by Leonard Irving, a person who frequents the San Francisco open mics a lot. And the poem is called Ode to the Full Moon. On California Street, near Polk, outside the Lumiere Cinema, late at night under a full moon, I hear the wail of bagpipes, not played well yet stirring, enough to set the soul aflame. A red-kilted lady plays to the street corner's noise and bustle. With a yodel I accompany her, loud and clear, to wobble the sidewalk, to have headstones bend, to startle the bull haggis in his lair, to raise the dead. Then I start to dance. Thank you.